That matchup between the Rams and the Seahawks. Brad, will you be watching the Major League Baseball playoffs or Thursday Night Football?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or neither. Or watching some Netflix because they got some good shit.
You know, I like to sit back and have a beer and listen to a podcast. I don't know about you. I've changed my habits lately.
I'll say this in the pregame. The new Jake Gyllenhaal movie, who I think Jake Gyllenhaal is a super talented guy. The one about the 911 dispatchers, it's unintentionally hilarious. It's unintentionally one of the funniest. We were watching a bit of that last night and sharing our humor on that one. We were amused.
What fat form is that on? Which one is
it's
that?
On the Netflix. It's called The Guilty. There's a little
now, do
twist.
I need an antenna to get that? How I'm going to a website that will tell me how to watch that movie. Okay.
There's an antenna, and you take it, fashion it, and shove it right up your ass, and you should be able to get that. I'm not sure. You have to go with the instructions. Oh yeah, how do I watch tonight's football game? This is the first one that's on Fox, though.
So it's more special.
It is more special. Now remember, next year, Amazon exclusive. All the Thursday night games.
Next year, or is it the year after? Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure it's next year. I'm pretty sure it's 2022. I think that's how it worked. All Amazon all the time on Thursday nights, guys. Now, as far as this Sunday game, I can't help you. I don't know what's going on with this Sunday game, and no one cares. That would have been the icing on the cake if the Jaguars would have had to fly to London after all of this shit. That would have been the beauty of all of that. Because that's usually, they play that most of the games feature the Jaguars. And God, the British people are so happy about that.
Well, because they like it because it's the closest city. That's the second closest city to Orlando, and they love going to Disney World. So they think it's the Disney World team. I don't know.
That's what they think.
I'm just making shit up. I'm just making it up. I'm making it up.
Yeah, you are. But otherwise, they get two great teams in the Jets and the Falcons mixing it up at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium Sunday morning.
All right, here we go.
I'm ready.
It is the Brad and Britt cast. Another edition. Thank you. Our final one for this week, and then we'll retool. We'll fire all the writers, bring in a new staff for next week, and that'll probably be tolerable then. But right now, it's one more day of limping through with the same group of losers back there. I don't know. We agreed who needs to go, right?
That's exactly right. It feels like Trump. Losers. They're just a bunch of losers.
We do that. All right. Boy, there's a lot of different directions that we can go off in. Now, would you like to choose, or you want me to choose?
I'm gonna. You have me choose. Give me your ideas, and then I'll try to pick a good one.
Oh, you want me to play the this, that, or the other? Okay.
I didn't know if you had I didn't know if you had a list or not for me.
I always do. Why do we have writers, Britt?
Exactly.
So I come out here, with my dick in my hand with nothing to say.
That's a great image, though.
All right. Here are your choices. The National Bilking Association.
Oh, now.
It's even worse for AT&T than you thought. Or can only Jews play Jews on TV and in the movies?
Those are all three good ones. Let's start with AT&T because we had this story yesterday about AT&T being the primary financier of One America News. Brad, how is that story matriculated?
Well, of course it's horrible. That's just horrible,
unforgivable. Really.
Right. But there is something else, and I can almost prove it. I don't have to prove it by doing this, but I was just looking up the story that I knew would accompany the one about how AT&T funded this right-wing harangue called One America News Network that just features babes. I believe one of one of the things you can click on when you go to their website is babes Donald Trump wants to fuck. Okay. Because that's one of the things, right?
It's a long
so
list.
The headline, so here's the headline: 2 bad headlines for AT&T and a conundrum for the Dallas Morning News. All right, so the first bad headline is all about what we've talked about the last day or so, that AT&T, which is what they're the number 2 carrier in cell phones, and it's just gigantic. They're AT&T. That money was funneled from that company via the founders and just it's horrible. That money went to help fund this right-wing network, One American Network. That's bad enough. Now you have another one here because AT&T wanted to support the abortion bill in Texas, the horrendous, horrible, inexcusable, unconstitutional, as ruled yesterday by federal judge Robert Pittman, a Barack Obama appointee, and by the way, the first openly gay U.S. attorney in Texas when he was a U.S. attorney, who made that ruling, and his ruling was extremely, extremely eloquent. That's another subject. But the fact is that AT&T was going to get hammered for doing that, and they should have been. And the Dallas Morning News says, no, we can't accept that ad that hammers AT&T. Here's the Dallas Morning News, biggest paper in Dallas. What's the name of the stadium where the Cowboys play, Britt? Quick.
It's Jerry's house, also known as AT&T Stadium.
Right, and I'm sure that has nothing to do with this.
No,
but
that's nothing.
Right, so their excuse for not allowing a Democrat super PAC to run an ad in the local paper in Dallas, pounding AT&T, is we don't allow ads that specifically name corporations when you're attacked. They came up with this bullshit thing. So it's bad enough. It's bad enough that they helped found and fund One America News Network. It's even worse or equally bad that somehow at a corporate level, they think that fucked up abortion law is a good idea. Yeah. I mean, what is that about? What is that?
Well, there's an Axios. I just showed the headline to. There's an Axios article which kind of goes into a deep dive about how they've become a big player in conservative politics. There's a story you were just talking about Dallas Morning News rejecting that ad for bullshit reasons they pulled out of their ass. Apparently, they've got a particular point of view, and AT&T is not shy about expressing it. Apparently that's what they want. I hope they suffer a penalty in the marketplace.
But wait a minute. There is a difference. I mean, I can walk, chew gum, and fart at the same time. Yeah. There is a difference between companies, say, a few months ago, who came out all in favor of voting rights and against repressive measures, say in Georgia, to restrict voting. And we got back, all the All-Star game is going to leave. Okay. I think there's a big difference between that kind of support in a corporate sense and taking a side as a corporation in the most divisive issue in the history of the United States. Maybe slavery was worse because we fought an actual war over that.
Maybe.
Okay. But other than that, abortion. So I love this. And we don't have to keep going on this forever because AT&T deserves all the scorn that they're getting here. But the piece I was looking at here, it's kind of a local thing. It's called, I guess the name of the publication is just D, as in Dallas. And they asked the question at the end. So what is the Dallas Morning News in rejecting an ad by the Democrats pounding AT&T for supporting the world's worst abortion law in the history of the world? What is that newspaper doing? Who are they trying to avoid pissing off? Is it AT&T? Is it liberal subscribers to the paper? Is it conservative subscribers to the paper? Or is it advertisers? Pick and choose, make a gumbo, and get back to us. This is just a horrible, horrible series of decisions by everybody down the line, don't you think?
I agree. Do you think that they suffer? Do you think AT&T will suffer some sort of penalty in the marketplace? Do you think there will be? I mean, it's highly competitive
No.
with the cell phone thing. You can easily
Oh, I
switch
know.
to another provider. But
I
yeah.
understand. I understand. But these things come and go, and they come in such frequency. This is just another one, and these headlines have not risen, as far as I can see, to the top of anybody's front page, or they're not being discussed really outside of a wonky world, the one that we live in. So it's really, really bad, and there's no defending it. There's just no defending it. Now, can we swing right over to this ruling by the federal judge in Texas, Judge Bob Pittman, not to be confused with, tell them who Bob Pittman is in our life. Go ahead.
He's the guy that runs iHeartRadio. He's one of the founders of MTV, back when MTV was worth a shit.
Right. And he's been getting paid tens of millions of dollars to do jobs for years, and he sucks, and no one can figure out why he gets these jobs and keeps them. He's just that guy. That's the other Bob Pittman. This is Judge Robert Pittman, appointed by President Obama several years ago. So he's the federal judge who ruled on Wednesday that the Texas abortion law is just flat out unconstitutional. And without going through the details of what he said, all of which you agree with and I agree with, his ruling, it was long, it was detailed, it was pointed, it was scholarly. It just crushed the spirit and the motive behind the law. It pointed out that this is a constitutional right that women have to choose whether they want to get an abortion or not. The law does everything possible, bending over backwards 12 different ways to deny women that right. Therefore, it is unconstitutional. But it reminds me of the ruling a couple years ago by the federal judge regarding the North Carolina law about voter ID, where he used the phrase, this law was surgically constructed to deny people the right to vote. And actually, the ruling by the judge in Texas is even more so, more so. But what's going to happen here, of course, is you get a couple months respite, and I think in December, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear a case about Mississippi and 15 weeks and the rest. And if the court knocks that down or supports that law, and it probably will overrule what the judge said in Texas on Wednesday. So this could be a short-lived victory. But what motivates Democrats to go to the polls? This gets down to what motivates Democrats to go to the polls, because
if you get this is a big suburban female issue, and when the suburban females get fired up, Democrats do well. That's for real,
right? And Texas, of course, is changing demographically probably faster than any state in the country, which we've been saying for 25 years, and they still can't elect a fucking Democrat statewide. Okay.
But it's coming. It's going to happen.
But it's coming. I swear it's going to happen. I swear.
Lucy, hold that football. I'm coming.
Beto O'Rourke is one day going to win an election. It's going to happen. I swear. Wendy Davis is going to win. Shit. One of these people is going to win.
One day.
But you reach this point where these kind of rulings come down, and you are reminded that the rule of law can win in this country, at least temporarily, until not the rule of law jumps right back in. And that could happen even before the Supreme Court a couple months from now. Here's this case with more national implications, the Mississippi law, because I think they're going to immediately appeal what the judge said on Wednesday to the wider district court, which is considered in that part of the country. I think it covers Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas or something. It's considered to be the most conservative appeals court in the country. So they could suddenly find that this is the most constitutional law in the history of constitutional laws and reverse. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, that could happen. But here is how evil. Here's how evil this law is, and you know the details in general terms about what you can't sue the state of Texas. You can't sue officials because they're not the enforcers of the laws against getting an abortion after 6 weeks. In Texas, of course, 6 weeks is just absurdly early. We know all about that. But written into the law, which regardless of what the ruling was by the judge yesterday saying the law is unconstitutional, written into the law is a clause that says if this law gets appealed, if this law gets challenged and is overturned but is reinstated, then everyone in the interim who thought that the ruling that declared it unconstitutional allows them now to get abortions again without being subject to getting tattled on by someone, that's out the window. And you can retroactively think out and finger someone who got an abortion, say today or the next few weeks before any appeal is heard, if the ruling is overturned later on. You follow what I'm saying? In other words, they thought of everything. They thought of every possibility on how to fuck over women. They just did. There's just nothing they left on the table.
Well, remember,
can you imagine putting that in there?
The wet dream for conservatives for many years is that have it kicked back to the states, which is what it was pre-Roe versus Wade. That was Scalia. He wanted the court to get out of the abortion refereeing, is what he called it, business. So that means that, it wouldn't be the same for a woman in Texas as it would be for a woman in New York, a woman in Arkansas versus a woman in California. To me, that violates equal protection, and that's not what the Constitution's all about.
Right. And by the way, Britt, I forgot to give you the Rachel question. Did I explain that correctly, Britt?
Yeah. I thought you nailed it. So yeah, it's equal protection. It should not, if you grow, the zip code where you grow up in should not decide whether you have this health care versus that health care. I'm sorry. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but that's how it is.
Unfortunately, think about what you just said. We have a country where at least 10 or 12 states refuse to take the Medicaid expansion. So believe me, healthcare is not the same in every state. Of course, it should be, and there should be a way to there's a way to get out from underneath states like North Carolina. We're one of the dirty dozen.
Yeah,
who have a legislature that's so fucked up Republican,
right?
That they will not get another 500,000 or so people the kind of health care that they would be getting if they would accept the state billions of dollars in federal money as part of Obamacare. So
which has been there. It's been waiting.
The way you said it, but yeah, right. But the way you said it is 100% right. Whether it's regarding abortion or going to get an examination to see if your blood pressure's high. There should be no difference. It should be the same in every state. There should be no difference.
The interesting part of that is if you talk about the Second Amendment and people who love the Second Amendment and worship their guns, they believe, oh my God, it has to be the same in Washington State as it is in Virginia, as it is in Michigan, as it is in Pennsylvania. And by God, the court needs to just enforce everything the exact same way. But when it comes to abortion, oh no, it's okay if Colorado is a little bit different than Arizona. It's fine if, Oregon is different than Michigan. It's not a problem at all. So yeah, equal protection's a funny thing. It's a very, very interesting thing when it comes to some folks.
No, it's equal when I like it. It should be unequal when I don't like it.
That's
you
right.
Get that.
That's exactly. That's the deal all the way around.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. So we handled the AT&T. Then there's the can only Jews play Jews in the movies and on TV, or the National Bilking Association.
Let's do Jews in the news. I want to hear this story because I'm not really familiar with this one.
All right. Here we go. I guess it was last week that Sarah Silverman, I guess she has a podcast or something.
Yes, she does.
Of that sort. she came out and she was furious that there are a lot of Jewish characters on TV. For instance, the most obvious one right now would be Rachel Brosnahan playing the Jew on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And her point is, you should have a Jew playing that part. Why do we have so many non-Jews playing Jews? And when I first saw, I was thinking of talking about this last week, and I thought, no, let's let it go. But now we have a little back and forth here. We have a little smackdown going on, and the smackdown is initiated, fortunately, by Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah.
Okay. Who, of course, is on that show. And I 1,000% agree with him. And before I get to that part of agreeing with him, let me just be honest about what I first thought when Sarah Silverman, and by the way, the use of the phrase Jew face as if that's equivalent to blackface, right?
So explain that to me. Is she just saying that there's a look that they're going for and that's it, or what is she saying?
Well, look, just the fact that you would use the word Jew face,
right,
it's obnoxious.
Yeah,
it has no relevance, and it's demeaning to people who know that blackface really was demeaning to black people when white people would put on makeup and go around and talk funny and you know, we don't do blackface. It's out. It's gone. It's over.
Right.
I don't think it's comparable at all. And she talks about the fact that non-Jews play Jews very often, not all the time, but they do, as if Jews can't get any jobs in Hollywood. They can't get any gigs. They're locked out of the entertainment business. God damn it. If there were just some Jewish parts that some Jews could fill, blah, on and on it goes. Okay. And if you, and by the way, if you go there, then you have to go, well, because this is a can of worms. Can Jews play anybody but Jews?
Right. Can a Jew play a Gentile?
She is so fucking wrong. She
but
is so off base.
Is this just about her not being able to get work? Is that what she's essentially bitching about?
Who knows?
I mean, is that what the deal is? She wants more jobs?
All right, here you go. Here's a quote. There's a long tradition of non-Jews playing Jews, and not just playing people who happen to be Jewish, but people whose Jewishness is their whole being. One could argue that a Gentile, a non-Jew, playing Joan Rivers correctly would be doing exactly what is called Jew face. Oh, it's defined when a non-Jew portrays a Jew with the Jewishness front and center, often with makeup or changing the features, big fake nose, all the New Yorkie or Yiddishy inflection, and at a time when the importance of representation is seen as so essential and so front and center. Why does our industry constantly get breached, even today, in the thick of it? You want to talk about a solution in search of a problem? What the fuck? I mean, just what the fuck?
That's interesting.
Now, and you know what? If she's going to go down into the gutter here and start playing stereotypes and things of that sort, I'll go in reverse. Natalie Portman is Jewish, okay?
Yeah.
And I would guarantee you that about 99% of people do not know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Because, quote, and to use Sarah Silverman language, she doesn't wear it on her sleeve, and she doesn't have a big nose, and she doesn't sound like she's from Long Island. She doesn't sound like Rosanna Dan. You know,
she's not trying to do remakes of Yentl. She's not Jewish enough, or what's the deal there? That's ridiculous.
So the point is, she shouldn't be allowed to play anybody who isn't Jewish, because she is, according to the Silverman rules here. I think it's nuts. I think it's because so can only Irish people play? No, just no.
It's an odd road to go down. I'll give you that. It does feel a little bit like, hey, I'm not getting enough work. I mean, that's what it feels like. It's like I should be getting more roles. That's what it feels like. It feels very personal to me. That's that's her former boyfriend, Jimmy Kimmel, who was tearing into AT&T in our first story there on his monologue, killing him about the OAN story, by the way. Sarah
Right.
Silverman's
Well,
ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, I love Jimmy when he gets up on the soapbox, but remember, he's working for Disney, and Disney has sometimes
Well,
some questionable things.
it's fair.
I want to see. Wait, I want to see him bring on what's her name? Colin Joe Squeeze. What's her name?
Olivia Wilde, or what is her?
No, the fucking one who's in the Marvel movies. What the hell is her name? Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson.
I want to come on, Jimmy, bring her on, and why don't you and her discuss?
Now they've got a settlement.
Scarlett Johansson versus Disney in fighting over how people get paid. He's not going to do it. So
there's been a settlement. Everybody's okay. Yes. Everybody's fine. They're going to work together going forward. And there's probably an NDA involved with that settlement. Quit trying to dig up bones here, bro. Everybody's okay. Disney's not trying to screw anybody. and ScarJo got her money eventually.
Wait, you know, there is a not a parallel or even close to equal story that, but you probably see it there. Republican men are by far the most likely group to oppose a black James Bond. So they haven't named a guy after Daniel Craig, right?
Right.
They haven't done that yet, right? They haven't done that yet. Morning Consult. They did a poll, and they said, do you support or oppose the following portrayals of James Bond in future movies? Among all respondents, a black James Bond got the most support at 45% versus 30% opposed. That's overall. A Hispanic James Bond got 39% favored against 35. An Asian James Bond. This is so pernicious.
It is really
shit. It's horrible. This is horrible.
Hey, wait, what about what about a Jew-faced James Bond? They got that in there? Is that polled or no? They didn't do that one.
No. They said the Jewish James Bond was out, but he could be the boss. Okay, he could run the joint. Among the subgroups tabulated in the poll, only one group opposed a black James Bond by a majority. Again, Republican men, 53%. And wow. And of course, as you know, and this is the funny part of this, they didn't ask it this way. They should have asked it this way. Should James Bond always be white? That's what they should ask. That would be the more honest stuff. Yeah, it's got to be thrown in there. And then you ask about the subgroups, okay? Or if James Bond isn't white, what? Because you're leaving the elephant in the room out, which is James Bond has just always been white males up until now. So again, we're smarter than the poll. We are definitely smarter.
It's not that tough to be smarter than that, Paul. But you and I have marveled for a number of years how Idris Elba has not been. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. That's a guy that was born to be fucking James Bond. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And my level of caring or investment in this is nothing. But I mean, it's just obvious. This guy is he's suave. He's cool. He can act. He's awesome. And I don't understand how they don't put the tuxedo on that guy. But that's just me.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, let's not even start naming people, but besides him, he'd obviously be great at it, and
he's the guy.
And you know what would happen? You know what's going to happen? No matter who it is, even if it's a non-Caucasian person, you will forget about it in about 2 seconds when you go to the movie.
Of course,
because I'm sure whatever they do, because when this is obviously the longest running movie franchise ever. Right. There's nothing even in second place, is there? We're coming up on 60 years.
I don't know, Star Wars or something. One of those deals.
Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
Not close. And you know what? That'd be a great one also. Should the guy in the Darth Vader costume have to be white? Right, because his voice was black.
His voice was black, so that's good enough.
right. But it's just as stupid. A question, isn't it?
Again, as you continue down the staircase of stupidity, would America be okay with a black Bond kissing a white Bond girl? That, and you just go through all of this permutations. It's so stupid.
Right. There's nowhere to end. Once you go down this road, you can't turn back. You can't turn the car around.
It's the dumbest shit of all time.
Yeah.
And would a black Bond be pulled over by a cop for having a bad taillight and then shot? I mean, that's got to be it's right in there, isn't it?
they resell the original Aston Martin from Goldfinger. That seems to come up in the news every couple of years. Somebody buys it. I don't know what it's worth. It's worth millions. And I just wonder, you're right. Is the right taillight out?
The National Basketball Association getting ready to start their 2021 season. Brad, a little bit of bad press for some former NBA players as they've got a bunch of them arrested in a $4 million healthcare scam. This headline from, I guess this is CNBC or CBS Sports, one or the other. It highlights two of the better known ones, including Glenn Big Baby Davis, who was, I think, maybe an all-star once or twice, and Sebastian Telfair, who was much better known as a phenom before he made the NBA. They're part of this healthcare scam. Brad, please take us through this story.
All right. So according to the indictment, they engaged together to defraud the NBA healthcare, health and welfare benefit plan by submitting fake fraudulent claims, that's redundant, to get reimbursed for medical and dental expenses that were never actually incurred. Kind of the oldest trick, if you want to call it that, in the book, in trying to rip off health insurers or pension plans or things of that sort. There's nothing particularly original about it. But what kind of interests me here is, and by the way, when I read this late in the morning, 16 of the 18 were already in custody. So, they're going to handcuff and indict all these people for engaging in this. But these still, even though they're sort of recognizable names if you're a big NBA fan, they're not top tier.
No,
these are not people you would recognize.
No, not at all.
Right. For instance, let's pick a name of a fairly recently retired star. All right. If Dirk Nowitzki, a Hall of Famer,
big time, sure, one of the best of all time,
about 3-4 years ago, one of the best. If he was part of this,
well, now you're talking.
It would be even worse.
Sure.
But it didn't happen that way. So I almost think, and I have no proof of this, that a lot of these guys, and why do you try to steal money? Because you need money.
You need money.
It isn't right. That a lot of these guys who are making NBA salaries for a while, and most of us sit around and say, you know what, if I could make, $30 million over a 10-year period, I could retire when I was done and I wouldn't have to work it. But I'll bet you a lot of these guys had no money.
Well, there was that statistic. There was a statistic that most professional athletes who are at the highest level, like within 5 years of retirement, a shocking number of them declare bankruptcy, regardless of whatever their background was. They could have been from a middle class or an upper class background. They don't know how to manage money, and a lot of people are out there to break them.
Now, and by the way, what we're saying may or may not be true in this case, but because it's 18 people, somebody originally came up with the idea and said to somebody else, hey, this is what you can do. Here's a great way to pick up a few extra bucks. Right. By the way, this kind of demeans the phrase side hustle a lot.
Well, they targeted these guys.
Side hustle. Yeah.
They target these guys. These guys would need money. They're not going to Mark Cuban trying, hey, you want to get in on this? This is a really, they don't, Mark Cuban doesn't need the money. They need desperate people who need cash. And this is who they go after for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
So the only thing, and we'll kind of leave it with this. It appears that all 18 of these people are black.
Yeah.
So
it appears.
The question will come up. It'll probably come up at 4 o'clock on one of the argue shows on ESPN, if it hasn't already. That isn't it coincidental that they arrested 18 black players, blah, blah. Where are the races? I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking.
It's interesting. PTI just
I don't know whether that's true.
PTI on ESPN just celebrated its 20th anniversary. That show has been around for 20 years.
Pardon
it was
the interruption.
The godfather of really all of these Yale shows. Shannon Sharp and all of that stuff that happens now. They were really the king of all that stuff. But you're right.
Oh, fucking Kornheiser. Kornheiser's great. Kornheiser's great. I love
He's
him. I do.
He's amazing. He's really, and he was always a great writer too. He was always a very good writer.
I think he's a Menchie guy, and he's good.
He's very good.
Real good. And you notice you never hear his name come up in all the drama. Notice that? Looks like he just comes in there, gets it done, and goes.
They had one when he was doing his show on ESPN radio. They had some off-air comments about one of the guys who had been had skedaddled, and he was upset about the guy being skedaddled. That's the biggest scandal in ESPN, considering everything that they've gone through. That's nothing, because you're right. The guy somehow stays out of trouble. Will Bond, God bless him. I'm glad his health is okay. Those guys are very, very good. But you're right. That's an interesting way to take a look at that. You're up to date with this Sage Steele person who works for ESPN. Have you seen some of the headlines about her recently?
I haven't seen. No, I remember a couple weeks ago there was a little drama. The answer is I'm not going to try to fake this. I am not. Educate me.
Sage Steele seems to be on. I don't want to say the Trump train per se, but she went on the Jay Cutler podcast. Jay Cutler being the loser ex-quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
All right, again, why does Jay Cutler have a podcast? Ready? I know you have this kind of list also.
Yeah.
Lists of people for whom when a story assaults me, I never read it. I am so and by the way, by correlation, his stupid fucking ex-wife, right? Kristen Cavallari, whose name I shouldn't even know. I should not even know.
Something valuable should inhabit that.
Yes, I hate them. I so little care about
something
Jay
valuable.
Was such a fucking second-rate player too. God damn it, go away.
Something valuable should inhabit that brain space instead of that woman's name. That's what the deal is. So she has gone on. One of her first things was she goes on the Jay Cutler podcast. She goes, I don't know about these vaccine mandates. It seems a little authoritarian. Seems a little un-American to me. Well,
this is Sage Steele you're talking about.
Sage Steele. Yeah. And so Sage Steele has, of course, in the subsequent days tested positive for COVID-19, just FYI. And now, most recently, she's made some comments about former President Barack Obama, saying it was unusual for the president to check the box saying he was African-American on his college application since his dad was nowhere to be found. She has been suspended by ESPN for those remarks and for other things. And she appears to be ready to go as far as being the next kind of broski on Barstool Sports at this point in time. So that is what's happening with Sage. I heard Jamel Hill.
Britt, from what you're telling me, she sounds like she's ready to be a martyr. She sounds like she's ready to be the latest right-wing victim of political correctness and cancel culture. Sounds ready to me.
Now, she's on the Clay Travis tip. Clay Travis was the former host at Fox Sports Radio. He is now one half of the guys that have replaced Rush Limbaugh. This is the good news for Fox Sports Radio. They got rid of his shit. They've replaced him in Morning Drive with 3 people who actually talk sports and are not completely full of shit. The Fox Sports Radio.
Get out of the weeds. Get out of the weeds.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. In any case, Sage Steele looks like she's ready to rock and roll. I heard Jamel Hill talking about this on the Dan Le Batard podcast, and the difference between the way that ESPN threw her the fuck under the bus when she said some things about Donald Trump versus how ESPN was a bit apologetic for Sage Steele in the immediate aftermath of the Obama comments and the COVID comments. They were like, the ESPN corporate statement about Sage Steele immediately was, we respect a wide variety of viewpoints on this network.
Hey, I have some news for you, ESPN. Sage Steele is a birther. That is a birther comment worthy of Donald Trump. He shouldn't be allowed. He shouldn't have been permitted to check off black on any applications that he made because we don't know where his father is. Do we have to know where his fucking father is to realize that he didn't go to Home Depot and order white paint and mix them to become Barack Obama? Jesus Christ. What the hell is that?
And it's not like,
what kind of racist shit is that?
Well, first of all, that comment lets me know that's not something that you say spontaneously. That's one of those that you've had locked and loaded in your mind for a long time, and you're just ready to spill that one out. That's not a spontaneous, hey, you know what? I was just thinking about Obama and blah, 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 blah. No, you've had that shit stored, locked and loaded, ready to go at the right moment, and you were just able to unleash it, which I find exceptional.
I actually, upon further review, I have to give her credit because it takes a lot. But it takes a lot to take what we've known over the last 15 years about Barack Obama and the bullshit lies that were told about him, his life,
right,
his parentage, his mother who died many years ago, who was white, and his father who was from Africa and was a professor, and they met and they had Barack Obama. He was their kid, and it takes a lot to use that against Barack Obama as if that somehow made him non-American, that he wasn't a citizen and shouldn't be allowed to run. That was horrible. That was Donald Trump. Donald Trump should have never been elected president. He should have been banished from polite society 30 years ago, let alone 10 years ago when he was doing all the birther shit. It takes a lot to take that and all these years later come up with a new way to be a racist. And yes, good news. Blacks can be racist against other blacks. They can do it. Congratulations. Who knew? Who knew? Because if a white person would be saying that right now, they should be drawn and quartered. And she should be too. Fire her ass. Fire her ass. Jamel Hill is right. Why are they going soft on her? Why don't they just fucking can her now? Just get her out.
ESPN plays this game where they pretend that we don't want to get involved with politics. We don't like it, and then they get rid of the Jamel Hills. They get rid of anybody who is quote unquote woke or has any sort of brings any sort of social aspects into the sports, yet they get no credit for that. And the conservatives attack them anyway. So they're going to own it anyway. You might as well talk about the relevant shit that's going on in sports, because that's relevant shit that's going on in sports. Meanwhile, Clay Travis is sort of the pioneer of the aggrieved white male sports fan. There's a whole brand, and it's Barstool Sports, as you well know, as part of this whole situation. This is where if you're a real pussy-loving, liquor-drinking, white-blooded American male, that's where you go for your sports, because I don't want to hear about all this black stuff. I just want to see people hit each other on a football field and people hitting a baseball. Let's get away from this
by the
shit.
way, as long as they you need to be black usually when they're hitting each other on the football field.
That's correct. That is.
But I want to hear what they have to say.
So that's and Sage Steele slides nicely into and now they have cover because they've got a black female that's going to say this stuff now. If they get her over on their side, just like when Fox News gets a black guy on there to talk shit about Obama. I don't think they're that sophisticated on this.
I think that they've made the calculation that the most important thing that just covers everything you've just been talking about is to not piss off right wingers.
That's the deal.
They would like to subscribe to the fact that only conservative right wingers, people who stand in the parking lot at Southeastern Conference football games and probably have a Confederate flag in their trunk, even if they can't bring it into the stadium. That's the core of their viewership, and we need to keep catering to them. And if that's true, they're not long for but you
TV can see that
success.
Sage Steele also satisfies the Strom Thurmond wing of that particular branch right there. You can see right there.
And by the way, Britt, I'll look forward to Jimmy Kimmel talking about this. Who are you going to defend on this one? You're going to defend your company, Disney, with ESPN, or are you going to defend Sage Steele, who says that Barack Obama is not black?
Yeah.
And by the way, I always like the answer that the black people give to that. You know what? I'm plenty black when I try to get a cab in New York City. It's amazing how black I am, even if I'm a light-skinned black person like Barack Obama. It's amazing how
you're pretty black when you get pulled over on a traffic stop. You're pretty black when you go get a loan for your small business. You're very black at that point in time. It's very, very strange.
Yeah.
We finish up with this one. The NBA will not randomly test players for marijuana again this season. I have a caveat for this one because we know that Kyrie Irving is still the holdout on getting a shot. if you've been vaccinated, you should be able to not be randomly tested for marijuana. Everybody else in the pool, we're going to randomly drug test you.
Well, that's a nice connection of inexcusable ideas.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
I mean, of course, the real question, why was the NBA testing anybody for marijuana anyway, forever, let alone in the last few years?
Right. It's
Because,
a safety
of course,
issue, obviously.
It's ridiculous. Yes, it's a safety issue. I'm afraid that Kevin Love will play in slow motion if he smokes some dope because it slows you down. Because it always gets down. What's a performance enhancing drug?
Right.
And the answer is not marijuana. Okay.
No.
The only thing good about marijuana in basketball players is it makes them less likely to argue with the refs. Okay. It makes them more likely to laugh at the refs, even if a foul is called on them that they know they didn't commit. But other than that, I don't see the downside. And again, that one's almost too stupid to talk about.
It is, but I love the idea that if you're not vaccinated, you're going to be in the pool to get tested. And everybody, it's another incentive.
Sure.
It's another incentive.
Right. And by the way, to all the players who aren't vaccinated but smoke dope, and why am I guessing that Kyrie Irving has had a field? Okay.
Maybe.
Does anybody think, do you have any idea what's in what you smoke when it's marijuana? The answer is no. And even with the legitimization of the product now, with larger companies starting to grow it and sell it in places where it's legal, do you really know what you're? Of course you don't. But the vaccine, whoa, can't put that in there. Oh, no. God, these people. All right,
that's a good way to end it.
That is a good way to end it.
Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
See ya.
Good times.